She has rewritten record books, sold out arenas from coast to coast, and turned a struggling league into a national conversation. And yet, night after night, she keeps hitting the floor. Today we're going to walk through exactly what has been happening to Caitlin Clark this season, the injuries, the missed calls, the letter from Congress, and the question everyone in women's basketball is now asking out loud: is the WNBA actually protecting its biggest star? Stick with me, because by the end of this video you're going to understand something that most sports coverage completely glosses over, and there's a detail near the end, about what her own teammates and rivals are saying behind the scenes, that changes how you'll watch every Fever game from here on out. Before we get into it, if you care about women's basketball actually getting the coverage it deserves, hit subscribe right now. Channels like this one only survive because people like you decide the story matters enough to stick around for. So if you want to see this story followed all the way through, subscribe, turn on notifications, and let's get into it. A career interrupted, again and again. Caitlin Clark's rookie year in 2024 was a phenomenon. But 2025 told a very different story. She opened that season dealing with a quad strain just a handful of games in. She came back, and within weeks, a groin injury sent her back to the sideline. She returned again in July, played 4 games, and then went down with another groin injury against the Connecticut Sun, an injury that, combined with a bone bruise suffered during recovery, ended her season for good. In total, she played just 13 games that year. It was a brutal cycle: return, re-injure, rest, repeat. And through it all, Clark kept showing up to arenas in street clothes, supporting a team that badly needed her on the floor. Heading into 2026, both Clark and the Fever talked openly about doing things differently: a more careful build-up, a real off-season, a genuine attempt to get her body right. And for a while, it worked. She looked strong in the FIBA Puerto Rico tournament in March, was named tournament MVP, and opened the new season looking like the player everyone remembered from her Iowa days. Then the back issues started. She missed time in May with back soreness. She re-aggravated it in June against Phoenix. She sat out again in July, this time missing back-to-back games entirely, coming back only on a strict minutes restriction. And on the same week all of this was happening, she made a decision that says everything about where her body actually stands. She pulled out of the 2026 three-point contest, an event she was supposed to debut in the year before injuries canceled that too. This isn't one freak accident. This is a pattern. And that pattern is exactly why the conversation happening around her right now has gotten so loud. The hit that split the league in two. A few weeks ago, during a loose ball sequence against the Phoenix Mercury, Clark took contact to the throat from veteran forward Alyssa Thomas. In real time, officials reviewed the play and decided it wasn't a flagrant foul at all. Days later, after backlash, the league quietly upgraded it, flagrant 2, and a 1-game suspension for Thomas. Clark didn't stay quiet about it. She said plainly that officials got the call wrong, and that this has been a running problem for 3 years, not one incident, a pattern of the league failing to protect the players in it. But here's where it gets genuinely divisive, and this is the part most headlines skip entirely. Not everyone in the WNBA agrees with her. Veteran guard Sydney Colson went on ESPN's WNBA Countdown and said she didn't see a flagrant at all, that she grew up in an era where contact like that was just basketball. Retired point guard Lashia Clarendon went further, arguing on her own podcast that physicality is a competitive advantage in a big girls' league, and that toning it down because it's a women's league would be a mistake. So this isn't simply the league versus Caitlin Clark. It's an old guard of players who see rough contact as part of the culture, against a newer wave, with Clark as the most visible face of it, pushing for a faster, cleaner, more skill-based game. Coaches like Becky Hammon have openly admitted that being physical with Clark is part of the scouting report against her. Analysts like Rebecca Lobo have said, on the record, that the officiating around her needs to be more consistent, no matter which side of the debate you land on. That tension hasn't gone away. If anything, it's gotten louder, and it's now reached Washington. In July, 11 members of the House Republican Study Committee sent a letter directly to WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert. Their argument was blunt: fans tuning in to watch Clark are too often seeing repeated acts of physical hostility rather than clean competitive basketball, pointing to incidents where she'd been hip-checked, poked in the eye, and struck in the throat. Engelbert responded on July 24, describing the league's process for reviewing physical plays and officiating after every game. But the committee wasn't satisfied. They said the league had only restated its own policy back to them instead of providing real evidence that the rules are applied evenly across every team, and they made it clear they intend to keep pressing until they get concrete answers. Whatever your politics, here's the part that actually matters for basketball fans: when lawmakers are sending formal letters to a sports commissioner about how one player is being officiated, that is not a small story. That's a league under real, public pressure, while its most important player is dealing with a body that keeps breaking down. What Clark herself has said. This is the part people almost never quote in full, and it's worth sitting with. In a recent interview, Clark pushed back, not just on the officiating, but on how her intensity gets portrayed. She said she understands reporters and analysts have a job to do, but asked that people not make assumptions about her character from the outside. Basketball, she said, is what she loves, competing is the whole point, and no amount of noise around her is going to take that away. She was also refreshingly honest about her own fire. Asked whether she could avoid picking up a technical foul for the rest of the season, she admitted she genuinely wasn't sure she could. She hadn't had a single one rescinded all year, but said that same edge, that same emotional intensity, is also exactly what makes her the player she is. The version of her fans love, she said, is the one where she's fiery, locked in, playing off the crowd's energy like she's performing as much as competing. That's a complicated, human answer. It's not a villain origin story, and it's not a scripted PR line either. It's a 24-year-old trying to hold on to her competitive identity while an entire league's business model quietly depends on her staying upright. So where does this actually leave the WNBA? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Caitlin Clark's box office power is not in question. The TV numbers, the sellouts, the merchandise, none of that is up for debate. What's in question is whether the infrastructure around her, the officiating, the injury management, the culture of the league itself, has caught up to the size of what she's created. Right now, the league is stuck between two truths that don't fit together easily. Its biggest star has missed dozens of games over 2 seasons to soft tissue and back injuries. And its playing style, defended by plenty of respected veterans, is built around exactly the kind of physicality most likely to keep causing them. Something has to give. Either the officiating standard shifts, the way lawmakers and a growing number of players and analysts are now demanding, or the league keeps risking its most valuable asset every single night she steps on the floor. And that's the thing to watch for the rest of this season, not just what Clark does with the ball in her hands, but whether the WNBA finally decides to protect the player it can't afford to lose. If this breakdown actually helped you understand what's really going on instead of the noise you see everywhere else, that's exactly the kind of coverage this channel is built around. Subscribe now so you don't miss the next update, because this story is nowhere close to finished, and there's a decision coming from the league office this season that could change everything about how the WNBA is officiated going forward. See you in the next one.